Hello and welcome to ScotDance USA's World Champion Dancers and Teachers interview series. I'm Emma Schiff. The Professional Development Committee at ScotDance USA wants to help the Highland dancing world stay motivated during these challenging times. That's why we're talking to the best of the best, World Champion dancers and their teachers. We'll learn about how they achieved what they did, plus their advice for dancers and teachers struggling during quarantine. We hope these videos can bring you inspiration. Enjoy. Today, I'm interviewing former world champion Maegan Sweeney and her teacher, Sheryl Joyner. Thank you both so much for joining me. Maegan, the first thing I want to ask you about is when I watch your dancing, I love your elevation. How did you work on that?
I think I've just always, maybe it's something that's more of a natural gift that I have. Even like as a young child, my parents said that when I woke up in the morning, like as a 2-year-old in a crib, like they couldn't hear me crying, they just heard me jumping. So they knew that I was awake. So I've been jumping for a long time. And I don't know, Sheryl, like, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that I think you have a natural gift for elevation for sure. She's one of those dancers that has that kind of extra lightness.
Sheryl, how did you work on strength and power with your dancers?
We do a lot of work at the bar, focusing on, body alignment, and just doing Highland, lots of core work, focusing on their health is really, really important, because if you're injured, you can't build strength. So that's something that we really always focused on, kind of building and peaking at the right times and working slowly and adding as we got towards Ontario's Canadians and Worlds.
So Maegan, what did a typical practice for you look like, say in July or August going into Cowell?
Practices were pretty frequent, and I do a lot of practicing with Sheryl, especially when I was younger. I needed a lot of support from her and a lot of her guidance. So we would practice. I don't know, Sheryl, if you want to expand on any of this, but we would spend a lot of time stretching and warming up. And I think that really helped prolong my dancing career, because we just didn't jump into anything right away, and it would always be like slow progressions, and it takes a lot more time, and it takes a lot more time, I think, from the teacher as well to do that and provide that support for students. But when we would come to the dance studio, it would just be a quick warm up, and then lots of stretching, lots of core work, and then slowly moving to do steps on the bar and movements on the bar, focus on movements, and then we would end with a couple full dances and leave it there.
Sheryl, what do you focus on the most when you're teaching?
I would say alignment. I think I look at their hips most of the time while they're dancing. They get a lot more hip corrections than mostly anything. Do you agree with that, Maegan?
Yeah.
Don't twist, do this. That would be something that I really, really focus on, because I feel like every movement sort of comes in and out of your alignment.
Maegan, was there anything that was hard for you to work on that you just really had to work at more than other things to fix?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I had a lot of tension in my neck for some reason, and I couldn't really channel it. Like, I was such a tense dancer, and maybe Sheryl can talk a bit about how she helped me do this as a kid, but she kind of helped me relax my upper body and put all that effort into my legs. And I think that was like a big barrier that I had to overcome as a young dancer. And honestly, even as an adult dancer, I still struggle with turnout. Sometimes I come back and dance and my left foot is sickling. And I think these things are just normal as part of being a dancer, and not all of us have natural turnout, and not all of us have perfect feet, and these are things we have to work on.
So Cheryl, what did you do to help Maegan get that tension down into powering off her legs?
She was so cute. Like in primary, she would try so hard. When you put so much tension in your upper body, it's hard to find that tension in your feet. So as time went on, and we worked. It was a long time with dancers when they're younger. You've got to see them a lot, and you've got to work these things step by step, starting with dropping the shoulders and focusing on feet. But that was just something unique to Maegan, I think, because she did try so hard. Yeah.
Not every dancer is super motivated to practice and put in all the effort that it takes to get to the top. How do you encourage dancers to keep committed to practicing?
I think that when it comes to actually practicing, like with a younger, really motivated dancer, I will offer extra classes. If you have a dancer who's uninspired, you could give them 7 lessons a week and they're still not going to improve until they really want to. But when it comes to somebody who's training and they want to be a champion, I think the parents, they have a big role in the practicing, I think. And it's not that they have to practice the dancers. They have to make space in the schedule and space in the home and, just kind of be that gentle reminder. The Sweeneys, they had such wonderful parents. And I would say all of the dance parents that I've had have been really amazing parents. And that is a blessing too, they need to really trust you to take a dancer this far. And that kind of mutual respect is really you become family. And I think it's a great thing. And I'm so appreciative to all the parents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my mom did an amazing job. When I think about, oh my goodness, the number of physiotherapy appointments that we went to, and we'd have to go before school, so I'd wake up with her around 5:30 and leave for physio, and she'd just sit in the car and wait for me 3 times a week or whenever, and always so willing to take me. If I need a massage appointment, okay, we're gonna go do that. She had no questions. And yeah, she really supported us through it all. Even when I hit the sword, and I'm sure that's as a parent to watch your kid hit the sword the 7th time, the same place. She still took me back again the next year. Thanks, Mom.
Did it make it easier for you to get really into practicing because your sisters danced? Did you guys practice together?
Yeah, we did. And I think that helped me a lot because both my sisters would be practicing, and it was a team thing. Okay, today we're gonna go downstairs and we're gonna practice, and it just takes one of us to say it, and then we're all oh yeah, we have to do that. And so that was really helpful. But even Cheryl's dance classes, all the girls were so good at practicing, and all the girls were really working hard in her classes too. And sometimes I'd show up to dance class and I'd be doing something that I thought I did well, and then I'd look over and there's one of my peers just working really hard and they look awesome. And it's really motivating, I think, when you're surrounded by other great dancers. Yeah,
absolutely.
So there's other girls in the class, and yeah, I really enjoy the group lessons for sure because it's really motivating and it makes it more fun too.
Yeah. Cheryl, earlier you mentioned that over the year you guys would change up practices and lessons. Winter would look different than summer going into Ontario's or Canadians or Worlds. How would you change them up? What was the difference between a winter and a summer practice week?
I think the winter would be more building strength, building technique, working on the new steps and the new dances. I always kind of would beg them to just take off 4 months in the fall. Don't enter those national competitions so we could just focus on our training, and that not just the steps, but just strengthening and having that time to just work through maybe some of our, issues if it was a sickled left foot or whatever. But as we got towards you know, the kind of championship season, I like to see them sort of peaking, you know, usually at the beginning of May, and then really those 4 weeks we'd be working a lot more full dances, you know, fling, sword, chartreuse, reel, full out, so that by the time it got to Ontario's, they were just feeling much better about just getting up and doing those full dances.
Maegan, did you do any cross training?
Yeah, but honestly, I didn't really do that much when I was younger. Like I think I've heard Colleen Rintamaki say this before, that she just, to get better at Highland, she just did Highland. I'm not sure, like, I think that sort of makes sense when you're younger, just to keep working, and it's so much to work on when you're young, especially with technique. So I didn't really feel the need to do anything else, but I started when I was 16. I started getting like a lot of pain in my calves, which I guess was just from jumping so much the same way, right? Because if we're dancing the same way, we're always using the same muscles. So I think it was maybe after the World Championships in the fall, I started getting into CrossFit, and it really eliminated a lot of the Achilles pain that I struggled with. And it really started to help me balance out my whole body, like have back muscles, have, you know, work other positions, not just always in the same out. So I think that actually helped balance me a lot, and it prevented injury because I was stronger all around. Actually, it's funny, the week of the World Championships that I won, I had so much Achilles pain. Sheryl and I tried to practice that weekend. I just couldn't jump. And even the morning, I think, the Friday, the qualifying, I was trying to warm up, and then Sheryl just looked at me and she was like, "You have to start jumping." Because we're here. So yeah, I think we had to find a solution. So CrossFit really helped. But I think actually something that helped me throughout my whole dancing career, because I'm so blessed, I never had a summer that I had to take off for an injury. And I think what I really attribute that to is, first off, all the stretching and warming up that I did with Sheryl. And secondly, I had some really good massage therapists that I would see like every other week or every week. And that really helped manage my pain that I had. So, and also I think it helped me. If you're struggling with pain, then it's hard to practice. It's hard to really get anywhere. So if you can, as soon as there's a hint of tightness, if you just get rid of it, then it really helps push your dancing along faster.
What was that week of Cowl like? Was there ever any consideration of not being able to do it, or was it always, regardless of your Achilles, you were going to try and go for it?
I was going to do it for sure. But I was nervous because my Achilles it was so painful. Like, I just didn't really want to risk it. And I didn't feel comfortable practicing in Dunoon, where there's not too many different practice spaces that I'm not comfortable with. So I just didn't want to push it. A lot of people, and we do this, we use spring floors. So we didn't really have, at that time, we didn't have access to sprung floors. And I think I just didn't feel comfortable pounding out a dance.
You know, it's funny because I think a lot of the times when people end up winning the Worlds, it's always that year that there's something odd and they think, you know, oh, this might not be my year. And it always ends up being that year when you have some weird thing going on. Sheryl, I want to hear from your perspective. What was it like when they called Maegan's name as world champion?
I had this moment because she had struggled with Canadian championship and she wanted the Canadians so badly. And she had this string of hitting the sword at the Canadians. And it was so painful because it was just a block. And she never, I don't remember her ever faltering at Cowl. So she was top 6 every year from the time she was 12 at Cowell. She had 4 good dances, but Canadians was just, I don't know, I think it was how many years, Maegan? 7 years maybe, where she had hit the sword. It was just really, really difficult. And she just kind of didn't have that good chance of maybe getting that title. So when she won the Worlds, I thought, oh, thank God, Canadians won't matter as much right now. And, as a teacher, you just don't want to get in their way. And I felt responsible for all those Canadians. And, I couldn't get her out of that block. So that was a big moment. For sure. For sure. It was relief, and there wouldn't have to be a what if anymore. She just had it. It's exciting.
Maegan, what was that like for you?
When Sheryl and I talk about Cowell, we always talk about it in a way that, and when I won, in a way that was the day that I kind of walked away from my dancing thinking, like, I did the best dancing that I could have done that day. And a lot of times I leave competitions thinking, oh, there's always things that happen on stage. Like, you do a leap and then, oh, you step out a bit, you lose your balance, like, great. Or you finish a fling turn. One time I finished a fling turn, like, way too far. I don't know what I was thinking. There's just things that happen on stage that you can't really predict, and they happen. And you don't intend for them to happen because maybe they don't happen in practice. But when we think about that day, we just think, oh, that was the day that I finally just did everything the way that I wanted to. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best that I could do. So I think that was the best dancing that I could do. And throughout, like, on that day, and I think, like, yeah, throughout all of our competitions and stuff, we never really focused too much on results. We were always thinking about, okay, like, why didn't you do your best that day, and, like, how can I bring that to the stage. Mm-hmm. And so I think how was just winning was kind of the icing on the cake. Like, I finally did the dancing that I wanted to, and then I also resulted in doing well as well.
And what you were mentioning earlier about Canadians with your sword, why do you think did you get really nervous before your sword every year because it had happened, that it happened once, then it happened twice, and you had a thing in your head about it?
Yeah, I totally had something going on with Canadians just in general. I don't know what it was. There's something about dancing at Cowell where you just look around your group and everyone is just great dancers, and I felt like, and you just qualify and you're so happy to be able to dance. But with Canadians, there's a lot more build up. You qualify, you're given kind of a title based off of what your province and how you placed, and there's this long waiting time for the Canadian Championship, and you're like, oh, I'm the runner-up from my province, or, oh, like, you sort of have a bit of a label for a long time. And I think mentally it was just something that I couldn't really handle that well, and I got very nervous for Canadians, like, way more than dancing in Scotland. I don't know why. And I think it was just, I built it up in my head to be more. And I think, so yeah, once you hit the sword one time, like, and then it happens again, and then it's just
downhill from there.
Maybe I just assumed it was gonna happen. I don't know.
So did you do anything specific to manage nerves? Because that was something I struggled with too. And it really can be. I think people sometimes think that's not a big deal, but it can be a big deal. It can, if you can't do what you do in practice on stage, then what's the point? So how did you work on overcoming those nerves?
That's a really good point that you make. Like, yeah, it's such a difference between when you're nervous, between what you do in practice and what comes out on the stage. And I think for me, once I just let go of results, and I just danced because I just loved doing it, and I loved going up and doing the fling, and I loved going up and doing the sword and chanteuse, and I loved the day, and I loved seeing my friends, and I loved working hard and working for something and being able to show it to everyone that what I've been working on. I think just I my focus changed, and then it wasn't about nerves anymore, and it was just about showing everyone what I've worked on and having fun. I love how the competitions can be so variable. We don't know if the music will be fast or slow, and then like can change how you dance. Like there's so much going on the day of a competition. And I think once I realized that I embraced how fun it was and let go of those results. Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're in Scotland. That was the shocker for me when I went over for the first time, of how out of my control everything was. Because the first time I danced at Cowell, when I went up for my reel, it started hailing. And I was, I'm from California. I was like, we're supposed to dance in this? We're not going to move? And it just blew my mind. But Sheryl, how do you help dancers overcome that, having a bad competition where you kick your sword and maybe that throws off you from reaching your goal, or maybe you just don't dance as well as you had hoped? How do you help dancers overcome that and still be working towards their goals and not get down from it?
We head into competitions without winning goals, with dancing goals. We don't focus on the competition. We try to focus on what we can control. We know that we have a routine with our warm up, with our kind of, our maybe just the type of mood that we're in the morning. Like there always seemed to be sort of the same feeling that we would have in class right before we were going to a competition. We'd just kind of be in a mode. I always know when there's times with the dancers that you get so connected, that I would be in the stands even at Cowell, and I would think, oh, I want to just kind of remind Maegan of her Strathspey thing. And whenever I'd think that, she would poke her head out of the tent, look up at the stand, and I'd give her the little, and she'd be like this. And it's not just with Maegan, like it would happen when you get to that level with your dancers. They almost know that you're thinking you want to communicate something to them. I don't know. I think it's just consistency. And I don't feel like I've had a lot of dancers that, didn't come through on their big days. They maybe didn't get the results that they were hoping for, but they always kind of performed to the best of their ability. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even still, I mean, she had some bad swords at Canadians, but those were great chanteuses and reels. And she always came back from it like a tiger, right?
Maegan, did you have like a morning of competition routine?
Well, the morning of a competition, I just try to keep it just the same as any other time that I'd be dancing. And like even at the competition on my mats, I'd be doing the same warm up and the same stretches, the same order that we were doing them with Sheryl. And it's Sheryl, when we were younger, she had these warm-up dances that we would do for fun when we showed up at the studio. And just to get everyone moving and loose. So one of them was like a hip hop dance, and another one was a contemporary dance, and it was just fun, and we loved them. And I remember like Canadians warming up on my mats, and like Sheryl playing with, or like warming up with my sisters or something, and Sheryl playing on her phone like the same song, and I was like doing my little dances to get warm. I think I even remembered like Sheryl and I, we'd have like different things that we would practice on the bar together just before I would get into full dances. And at Cowell, like we would do those on the mats, and I just hold her hands, do the same, just the exact same that we just normally do.
Sheryl, do you have any advice for teachers that are just starting out?
That's a hard question.
Or is there anything you wish you had known when you started teaching that you've learned over the years?
Over the years, Like now, one thing that I really notice is now that I'm a parent, like my approach is different than it was when everything was a lot more black and white when I started teaching. Like when I wasn't a parent, it just said, well, you just do this, this, and this, without really understanding what it's like at home with kids and schedules and getting them to do things. And, so I don't know if I'm a better teacher now than I was then. I don't know. It's just a very different perspective. Yeah, when I started teaching, I guess one thing I would give advice is just to not just think about the Highland. Like I wanted to be a Highland dancing teacher. I did my university degree in dance. I focused a lot on Pilates. I really kind of prepared myself for teaching, and I would say for a new teacher that, just keep learning. I'm still learning. I tried CrossFit too. It didn't go so well, but you just want to keep learning and moving along with your dancers, because things change. When I danced, we didn't have rollers and I didn't have a massage therapist, and now everything is about improving your glutes. So you just have to keep growing with the times. So that would probably be my advice in a roundabout way.
Maegan, would you have any advice for younger you?
I actually found this question a bit difficult. I don't know. I think not necessarily advice, but something I would tell myself if I could like whisper in my ear at a dance competition. It's just like, look around, these girls in your group, you're gonna know them for like the next 10 years or plus, and they're gonna become like really good friends. And I think when you're younger, you don't really realize, like, I think everyone kind of tells you that, but you're still kind of, with your studio, and you don't realize that the girls that you're competing against, actually you're going to know them for a while because they're doing the same thing as you. And it was really something I really enjoyed, was just getting to know the same girls at Cal and the same girls at Canadians as I got older, and that would made it even more fun.
Yeah,
I'm sure you think the same too.
I do. Sheryl, what do you think teachers can do right now? I think it's hard for not only dancers to stay motivated, but for some teachers to stay motivated when we don't have anything coming up probably for this year. What do you think teachers can do to help their dancers stay engaged?
I think that, I think the first thing is just to think about how lucky we are that we can do our sport. We don't need a rink. We don't need a swimming pool. We don't need, a gymnastics studio. So I think it's a real blessing that we can still dance. I think with that in mind, I think it's a healing time. I think it's a time where we can just, really reflect on why we do it. Look at our long-term goals, start visualizing the dancer that we want to be in 8 months, and set a path on how to get there. I think that kind of reflection is really, really important. I think it's a gift in a lot of ways.
Maegan, what do you think dancers can do to stay motivated?
Being motivated doesn't necessarily mean doing like 4 swords one day. I feel like that's maybe gonna hurt more, and it's when you're thinking about long-term goals, I think it's a different approach, like Sheryl said. And I think, now's the time where you can just sit and focus on your left foot sickle or maybe focus on your turnout, or just these long-term things that are just nagging, and that sometimes when we're just trying to get in good shape and fix steps and learn dances and learn technique, we miss the small technical things. And I think now we have all the time in the world. It's probably a good thing to set some goals for yourself, like maybe even flexibility wise too. And maybe it's time to, if you're an older dancer, maybe this came at a really good time for you because you've just been dealing with injury after injury, and maybe it's a good time to just have your off season you've never had before. I one time danced at Cowell, and then I didn't really go to dance class again until May, which is crazy. But honestly, it helped my body just heal so much, and just overall, just taking that time off and then coming back more motivated. Maybe like this time is going to be a blessing for someone who struggles with injuries, and they're just going to be able to just finally just take care of their chronic thing that they've had. Yeah, instead of trying to push through it.
Yeah, that is one difficult thing, definitely, because when it comes down to August, like with your Achilles, you either have to go for it or you're waiting a year. But now you've got that time to heal, which we don't always do. The last thing I want to ask both of you is, what's your fondest memory? It doesn't have to be competitive, just anything from Highland. Sheryl, let's start with you.
I think, there's so many memories. Like I loved class, and I loved, when everybody was together and happy. So we danced with Barry McNeil's and everybody was happy. And I just loved when there was just that real kind of warm, happy glow from everybody as a group. I also like those, those moments at a competition where a dancer is just kind of breaking into a championship group, and you just see them starting to reach their goals and get their eye on the target and start to become successful. I think those are one of my fondest memories, when you really see the passion, you really see the dancers sort of take charge of their dancing.
There's so many fond memories, and it's really hard to pinpoint one. But yeah, like Sheryl gave us some really cool opportunities performing, and those are really, really fond memories also. Whenever we had choreographies that we did, that choreography time was so special, and it gave our lessons a different feel when we were doing choreography, and I think that's really fun for dancers. Maybe they could be doing that during this time, come up with some cool choreographies too. That would be fun. And yeah, like even as a group being able to perform together, that's so different than individual competitions. So yeah, a lot of fun memories of dancing with, there's a group of girls in the studio we called the Fab Four, which was Ruthann and I and Keely and Natalie, and we had so much fun together. I have so many fun memories with them.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us.